Today it's April 18th and we're in the middle of Breakup right now. Things are really muddy and I've been walking in just a little bit of the way. We've had some relatively cool nights, so I could drive in pretty close to the property, but I think starting this next week it's just going to be too muddy and I'll have to walk the final mile and a half like I do every spring. So anyway, I thought we'd go around the farm today and just show a few things that are poking out, and there's not a lot yet, but and then look at how we protected quite a few plants this last winter by putting them in a sort of trench and covering them with a couple of things. I was digging in it today and I noticed that we actually have some vole damage down there, so I haven't gotten to the end with the trees in it yet, but we're hoping that it's not too bad. We'll go there next. So after last year's winter, when I had everything underneath the house and everything dried out really bad, I thought about putting the pots down in between some raised beds, and I've got some here to show you. Just some pots are laid down. There's a bunch of them. There's hundreds of plants laid down in this whole stretch. But what we did basically was take all the pots and lay them down their side as close as we could to that, and then lay this floating row cover over the top, which is Agricon 50, pretty heavy stuff. And then, as I show down here, we put straw over the top of that in an attempt to add some insulation before the snow fell, and there's still some snow on the top of that there that hasn't melted off yet. This area here is probably 18 to 24 inches deep, and so I was able to put quite a few plants in this area. These are the raised beds that have all of our peonies in them that we're hopefully going to get out this year and get in the ground where they belong. And the trees that are sticking up there actually are the dead ones from about 3 years ago. They helped protect the raised beds by providing something for the straw to be laid up on top of. I completely covered the beds with straw. Last year it worked pretty well. This year we'll see. I think it worked pretty well again. We only got down to 28 below this year, so not all that cold. Like I was saying, some of the stuff down here in this trench on this end, which is all bushes and small there's raspberries, things like that. I had some there's a wild black raspberry here. I grew it from seed last year, and there's some damage. You can't see it, but there's some damage at the very bottom from voles, and I kind of expected that. But unfortunately, at the other end of this trench with all the trees and shrubs in it are apple trees, and voles love apple trees. So I'm anxious to get the covering off of the plants here and pull them out and see what kind of damage we have. Next we'll go up to the bramblery and kind of show you what's transpiring now that we have about 8 or 9 inches of snow left on the ground up there. So here we are at the bramblery from the west end of it, looking east, and you can see, maybe you can't, you can see some of the canes sticking up through the snow now. There's both, let's see if I can aim it at the back there. So there's the two tayberries. The one kind of on the left, actually it's just a long patch of them in there, but one of them was under the snow all winter. The other one was not. So I think we're going to have some differences in how they handled the winter, even though it wasn't all that cold. It was cold for them. So we've got the far end over there, that's all under snow still. So all the trailing ones are still covered very well. Yeah, I don't see anything else, although might have some siskiyous in here that are kind of sticking up, not sure. I covered some of them, mostly just the ones that didn't have thorns on them. They didn't know how the thorns would tear up the row cover, but this winter we're probably going to go, this next winter we're probably going to go with row cover over some white plastic, try and keep the row cover as intact as possible. I'm going to go up here real quick to where I had some sylvans, and there is a sylvan right there. Probably can't see it, but there's a cane sticking out there. I just need to see myself. Yeah, kind of the little one in the middle of the screen there, there's a little bit of a cane sticking out. It's about 2 inches of water right now. But I was just curious to see if the voles had gotten to it, and they haven't gotten to that part out there, so it's a chance that farther down inside there, there's good canes. Anyway, that's the one last year that we ended up picking in late September. It wasn't ripe yet, and they ripened inside over a course of about 4 weeks and just were phenomenal berries. So we have an order for 18 coming in a couple of, well, probably 2 weeks now that that time's almost here. 18 more I'm going to plant out, and we'll just call those our later season ones that still taste great when they ripen inside. So next we'll go down to the grape house and we'll give an update there. But before I do, show you the fence that came down. I don't know that the moose even came through, but we had some pretty strong winds this winter, and it just pretty much shredded the fence in a couple of spots. Pretty heavy snow at one time. Late, it was actually I think February or March that we had a really heavy snow, and pretty much pulled the fence down. So now that it's spring though, the moose aren't usually up here. They're down in the valleys munching out. So I think we're safe for a couple of months, I hope. All right, I'll see you down at the grape house. Before we go to the grape house, I wanted to show you our tank trailer, 800 gallons of water. I'm trying to get that filled right now with some melted snow and stuff. We need that for several weeks in May and early June while the road to the creek that I go to actually dries out, and I can pull that back there. It holds about 800 gallons, and then I have a number of garbage cans that I mound with snow, and that gets me quite a ways into early summer before I have to start hauling water in over about a 12-mile road. So anyway, let's go to the grape house. Okay, so today the sun's shining pretty good. We've had sun pretty much all day, just some haziness in the air, so we got lots of solar energy out of it. Here's the grape house from the other end that I showed in the winter picture this year. And you can see the straw, we've got it over plastic. We laid clear plastic on the ground, and unfortunately that allows the ground to heat up underneath, although it hasn't ever been a problem to this point. It just could cause premature bud break underneath. We've got lots of straw on top, which we put over it to protect the plants before the snow fell. And this last winter, snow fell very late. I was really worried about there not being enough snow cover if it got cold. And it turns out it never really got cold until, like, I don't know, February or something like that. So we had a fair amount of snow on the ground before it got into the single digits below zero. And there was probably 1.5 feet when it reached 28 below. So I think these are pretty well protected, but we've got some obsidian blackberries underneath here, and they've shown to be rather sensitive to the cold, especially the root systems. So we'll see how those came through the winter, if they made it at all. So anyway, there's 60, 70 grapevines underneath there, and a number of, probably another couple of dozen blackberries underneath there. We stored some seaberry seedlings underneath there. Yeah, that's about what we have underneath there. And then inside the house, we have another 300 grape cuttings that we're rooting for this summer. And then we've got a bunch more ordered. Like I said before, blackberries ordered. And I'll give you a shot here because it's pretty easy to see the front of the house with the solar panels just underneath the upper eave, and then the ones down below the bottom windows. I wanted to do a video on the electrical system of my house, since it does really well up here, considering that we're in Alaska and we have very short days in the winter. This year we did quite well. We had some sunny weather and some relatively warm days, but mostly the sunny weather, and I converted to an LED light in the house instead of a fluorescent, and so I really cut my power usage. We used half the gasoline that we usually do in the generator over this winter, so it turned out to be a really good test. Plus, of course, panning around here, you can see that we've gotten rid of quite a few of the trees which would block the sun in the winter, especially down this low on the horizon. So anyway, that's it for now. We're gonna post this one and get another video on of the electrical system in the house so you guys can see what I kind of put together myself with a little bit of help from some local specialists. I wouldn't call them experts by any means, but specialists. And we'll get that one up too.